All right, let's go through this. So we're going to cover what mind is, okay? I'm just going to give you the overview here, and then we're going to go into it a little bit deeper as we go. I'm going to talk about where mind is. So what it is and where it is are two things that you need to know in order to progress further. We're going to talk, and this is where we're going to focus, conscious versus subconscious mind, because this is where all the magic happens, right? This is where everything is set up for us to succeed in our goals. So we're going to talk about success, why some succeed and others don't. We're going to talk about who you really are. Ooh, it's going to ruffle a few feathers. We're going to talk about what you really want, because it's possibly not what you think it is. We're going to go through the creation process, so this is the steps. But notice I've called it habits, not steps, and there's a big reason for this, because when you set goals, if you want these goals to succeed, if you want these dreams to happen, right, you don't want to follow steps, because steps are things you do externally. You want to have habits, lifestyles. You want to embody the process, right? That's how you succeed. So we're going to go through that as well, and then we're going to have our Q&A. Okay? Is that all right? All right, brilliant. Okay, so I've got a question for you, but before I ask it, there are 3 people in here not allowed to answer it. 1, Nick, because you all know it, my friend, and you 2 over there because you've seen this before. All right? So I want to ask you a question. I just want you to shout out an answer, okay? Don't be shy, because I want a bit of interaction, right? What is mind? Okay? Anyone? What's mind? I didn't hear a word you said then, because you put your hand over. It's not a trick. It's not a trick. Honestly. Right? Yeah. No. Anyone?
Your working memory.
Working memory? Anyone else?
State of thought.
State of thought. Anything else? Anything spring to mind? See what I've done there? Right. Well, I'll give you the neuroscientific definition of mind. Mind is an activity. Neuroscientists say mind is generated when the brain is working. So it's not a physical thing. It's an activity. All right? So it's not what you actually think it is, possibly. So the second question, and again, just shout out, where is mind? If I said to you, where's your mind? Where would you point? What would you say? Yeah. So you've all done the same thing, right? But that's where your brain is, right? Remember, it's not a physical thing, mind, right? It's an activity. Mind is actually non-local, which means it hasn't got a place in space or time. It's everywhere. It's omnipresent. Right? It's in all interspaces of the universe. Stop me if this goes too deep too soon for you, right? So there is nowhere mind isn't, right? So mind is in the brain, but it's also in the fingernail, right? It's also in hair follicles, right? It is absolutely everywhere. There's nowhere mind isn't. So bear that in mind as we move forward, because that's really important to understand, okay? So mind is an activity, and there's no place it isn't, right? Okay, this chap here, Thurman Fleet, lovely looking guy. He was a chiropractor, but he was also a doctor of the healing arts, and he practiced around the 1930s in Chicago. And he was so good at healing people that he would hold clinics and see. And when I heard this, I actually thought it was a lie. So I did some research on this, and it was actually true. He saw up to 500 patients a day. And he was so busy in his clinic that he was forced to move 3 times by the city ordinance. And they had to put special parking in place and one-way systems in the city centre to help him when he held a clinic. And this was in the 1930s, before we had email and Facebook and social media and, you know, TV advertising and all sorts of things like that. He was very, very successful at what he did. As I say, he died in 1983, but he was very famous in the 30s and 40s, right? He was a chiropractor and a healer, and he was also what we call metaphysician and a teacher. So he was interested in healing and concepts outside of the physical space, if you will. The reason I bring him to mind bring him to your mind, is simply because he had a bit of an issue. He was explaining what I'm going to explain to you in just a moment, but but people didn't understand what mind was. So he wanted to come up with a concept that was really simple and easy to understand so that people would know the process of what was going on. And he was coming from a healing perspective. So he would see people that were very sick. They were chronically ill. They may have had physical things wrong with them, mental things wrong with them, mental illnesses and such like. And he was super successful at healing them, making them better, making them whole again, as he would call it. And he did it by using this following diagram. So this is what I teach for a day, all right? And what I want you to focus on right now is just this diagram here. Don't worry about this, okay? Just this little bit here. He called this his stick man. Very original, but you can see why. And what he did is he drew a circle here like this, which he called the brain, the mind, and he drew a circle there, which he called the body. And he put a line across there to show the split between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and obviously he would write body there, and that's where he started. So that's what you're looking at right here. So we're going to talk about these three different elements and how they pertain to you, right? So your conscious mind is where your senses feed information from your external world into your mind, into your awareness, right? So what you hear, what you see, what you smell, what you grab in your touch in your hands, and what you taste are fed continuously into your conscious mind, right? Your conscious mind is your thinking mind, all right? So it's where you originate, reject, accept ideas or images or thoughts or visions. It all comes from your conscious awareness. Your thinking mind, your conscious mind, can decide whether something is true or false. So you have that ability to think logically here. It's where your thinking's done. It's where your processes are. When you read something in the paper, when you see something on the TV, you decide whether it's true or not. And that happens in your conscious mind. Your conscious mind not only has your senses, it also has what we call your intellectual factors, which are imagination, intuition, reason, will, memory, and perception. It all comes from your conscious awareness. When information is impressed with repetition and emotion, it's passed on to the subconscious mind. Now that's really important to understand, so I'm going to say that again. When information, so when you take on board information, when you think about things, when you have ideas, when you ruminate thoughts and play them out in your mind, when you speak about things, and you keep doing it all the time. So you repeat, and you add emotion to it, feeling to it. It's passed on to the subconscious mind, right? I'm going to come back to that in just 1 second, but I just want to say this. We are only ever conscious of what's going on in our surroundings in our life 5% of the day, right? So all this thinking, all this accepting, rejecting, all the thoughts and images and dreams and visions and goals, 5% of the time, right? So that means that for the most part of our waking day, right, and all of our sleep, subconscious. We're in the realm of the subconscious. Now, it's said by smarter scientists than me that the conscious mind is able to process about 2,000 bits of information a second. That's quite a lot, right? That's quite a lot of information. The subconscious mind, how much do you reckon? Anyone? Bueller? 400 billion bits of information a second. So there's a big difference, right? It's a big difference. Talking about Chicago, I once read research that said if you was to build a computer with the computing power of the subconscious, it would be 10 stories high and the size of Chicago. So quite big. And it's very different from the conscious mind, right? It's the doing part of our personality. It's the emotional part of our personality. We call it the feeling mind because it doesn't work in words, right? It doesn't work in language. It works in emotion and feeling, right? And the big difference is it must accept everything it's put into it as true. It has no ability to differentiate between false and real. So when something is impressed on the subconscious, it takes it as real. Always, every time. Doesn't matter what it is. When it becomes habitual, which is where your habits and your story, your narrative are stored, it becomes true for you. And it doesn't matter what you think there, it's what's in there that counts. So if you think there, I'm going to be a millionaire, but in there you have a story that your parents used to say, who do you think we are? Money doesn't grow on trees. There's your disconnect, and that's why that will never happen. So until you get in there and deal with that, doesn't matter what goes through there. Okay? That's the lesson I want you to take tonight. Right? We're done. We can go. No, I'm joking. Right? So it must accept all information that's impressed upon it through repetition or emotion. Okay? Now, it can express what's going on there, but it only can do it through one vehicle. Do you know what that is? There's a clue there, look. Body. Right? Your body is your physical manifestation or representation of your subconscious mind. Right? If someone comes to me for coaching, right, and we're talking about what they want, I will tell them where they're going wrong because I can see it in their actions. I can see it in their life. Your body doesn't lie. Your behaviours don't lie. If you say, again, we'll use that money one, sorry if it upsets you using money as an example. If you're doing the I want to earn £1 million belief system and your bank account is showing you £800 overdrawn, it ain't going to happen for you. You've got a money story. That's what we have to do. Right? So that's where we work. Right? So what goes on in here, the feeling part of your mind, expresses itself through the actions of the body. Okay? Which is the doing part of our personality. What on a quantum level, here we go, Will. Here we go. Quantum physics time. So, at a quantum level, everything is energy. The universe is a field of what they call potentiality. So it's neither a wave or a particle. You don't have to worry too much about that. But everything is in a state of flux, in a state of vibration, harmony, right? That energy, right, it changes depending on what your most dominating thought is. So all matter in the universe is condensed energy, right? It's what we call collapsing of the wave function in science, right? So this was actually it's a famous old experiment in quantum physics called the double slit experiment, where they fired single photons through a slit or a pair of slits onto photographic paper at the wall, and what they expected it was like bullets, right? You're firing bullets from a gun that was going through a gap and hitting the back wall. So wherever you pointed the gun, boom, that's where the bullet hole went. But what happened was that was what was happening when people were watching it, because that was their expectation. So yeah, particle, no problem. When they run it and there was no one there, they got something completely different. They got a wave-like pattern on the wall. So the bullets, if you like, were hitting different parts of the wall like ripples on a pond. Like, you know, you drop a pebble in a pond and the ripples spread out. If you drop two, you get two lots of ripples, and they go together and they create this interference pattern. And that's what was happening on this experiment. So when they observed it, particle. When they didn't observe it, wave. And what they discovered was that the observer has an effect on reality. Right? That was first demonstrated in 1860 something. Right? And has been the fundamental building block of the quantum theory ever since. And it was so devastating to the physicists of the time that Einstein wouldn't have it. One of the most erudite physicists of all, who understood the workings of the universe from a physical and a metaphysical or spiritual perspective, he famously said, God doesn't play dice. Right? So it was very, very difficult for people to get their head around, because it completely transformed what we thought about the workings of the universe. Mechanical. You have a cause, there's an effect. And that works almost all the time. But when you get very, very small, all things change. The entire rule book is torn up and thrown away, and it's just completely different. All you need to understand is that what's going on there controls the vibration of your body, and you then act out that vibration through the thoughts you have, what you say, what you believe, and the actions you take. So your subconscious mind is controlling the action and behavior part of your body, which is generating a force, a magnetic force, and pulling in things to you that are like vibration. So that's why you keep seeing the same things. And if you want an example of that, if ever you buy a new car and you haven't seen the car on the road and you decide what car you're going to get, you start seeing the car on the road everywhere and you go, I didn't know. Now here's the thing, it was always there, but there's a part of your brain called the RAS, which is the reticular activating system, that decides when things are important for you and then starts feeding that information. Remember, 400 billion bits of information, your head would explode if you tried to notice all that. But it will feed into your conscious awareness those things which you have decided are important to you. It's a feeling mind, remember. It's a feeling universe. There's a company called Heart Math Institute. They do a lot of research on the coherence between the heart and the brain. So when you align your brain, your thoughts, with your heart, your feelings, boom, away you go. All sorts of magic happens, like instant healing, attraction, manifestation, all sorts of things. They've got a great website, heartmathinstitute.org, with tons of research, hardcore science research showing you this. Your heart also has neurons, as does your brain, but it only has about 60,000 or so, 50, 60,000, where your brain has billions. But it creates a magnetic force 5,000 times greater than your brain. So your heart literally pulls in what you wish, what you want, what you desire. But your desire comes from here, right? And not here. Okay? Does that make sense? Kind of. Because that is the really sort of overview part, the very, very least I can do. But it's something that if you want to go more into, let me know and I'll give you some resources. Okay? All right, brilliant. Okay, so I have another question for you. I'm just going to grab a bit of water. And again, the three of you can't answer because you'll probably know this. As Christina and Tom have gone through something like this, and Nick's a client of mine, so he'll know. At least he should know. Right, here we go. What do you think about this one? Why do some people succeed but others fail? What do you think it is? Bear in mind what we've just gone through. Go on, don't be shy, shout it out. You won't get heckled, I promise. Determination. Self-belief, yeah. Yeah. Anything else? No? Say that again, sorry? Now we're getting somewhere. Excellent. Subconscious. Okay. Why do some people succeed but others fail? Well, we're going to go through this in just a sec. All right. And is there really a secret? Is there a magic formula to success? Is it something we can create, or is it just luck? Is it just the remit of the fortunate few, or can anyone be successful? Right? That's a really big question. So we're going to go through that as well. Okay, well the answer to those, and the answer to that last question is yes, right? Anyone can succeed, but there's always a but, right? Not in the way you probably believe. Right, so this here, doubt, belief, known, is kind of a transitional piece that people go through. People often doubt they can achieve things. There's an element of doubt there. It hasn't happened before. I'm not there now. I don't know if I can do it. It's too big. It's too small. It's too expensive. I haven't got the resources. I'm in the wrong neighbourhood, etc., etc. Then they go through some processes, and then they get to this point where they believe they can do it. Right? Oh, I believe I can do that. You know, I've done it before. I've done something similar. I can do that again. And then eventually you get to this knowing, I know I can do this. That's where you want to be, right? So in all your endeavours, whether it's training, whether it's financial, whether it's relationships, whether it's business, whatever it is, you want to get to a knowing, right? Now, there's another little part here, which we went through today, didn't we, Emily? Right? When I call it going to the cinema, right? So when you go to the cinema and watch Star Wars, because I know you all do, right? And you see actors on the screen with sticks that light up and acting out, you buy into it, right? Well, I do. You know, you believe it's true. You're prepared to believe it. Why? Why is that? What process do you go through that enables you to do that, do you think? You know, why can you watch Harry Potter duel Voldemort and think it's true and really enjoy it when you know deep down it's not? Well, it is a choice, yeah, absolutely. But there's a process where it's called the suspension of disbelief, right? You're prepared to suspend disbelief for the 2 hours or so that you watch the movie and really get involved in it and believe that it's actually happening. Well, 4 hours if you watch Lord of the Rings, right? So you kind of go from doubt, but you come into this suspension of disbelief. That's where most people need to be. If I can get you, or anyone can get you, or you can get yourself suspending disbelief about something, you've got a much greater chance of getting there. So you don't even have to get this far. This can be a huge jump for some people. If you spent a life doubting that you can get in shape, if you spent a life doubting you can have the relationship you want, or a life doubting that you're going to build a business, right? To get to a knowing that you know you can, right? So knowing is like simply you learn to swim as a 5-year-old, and then you don't go in the water ever again. And your friends decide to jump in the sea or a lake or a swimming pool, and they invite you. You go because you know you can swim, right? There's no doubt, right? That's the level you have to get to succeed, right? It can't be half-assed, as we say in the trade. Well, I do anyway. So a great starting point is suspension of disbelief. So I just wanted to bring that to you because that's something that is important. Right, okay. Frederick Bowles, an old teacher of mine, but not a lot. I didn't work with him. I've worked with his courses because he died a long time ago. He said, this is brilliant, right? A treatment, and I'll come back to that in a sec, is a definite movement of mind in a definite direction to accomplish a definite end, right? So just go through that again. A treatment, I want to change that to goal, right? We'll use the word goal. A goal is a definite movement of mind in a definite direction to accomplish a definite end, right? There's a big word there. What do you reckon? Definite, right? Absolutely. Frederick Bowles was at the forefront of what's called the New Thought movement in the 20s and 30s with a chap called Ernest Holmes, who set up a Church of Religious Science. It's not a church, it's a New Thought place of metaphysical principles and natural laws of the universe, right? Ernest Holmes gets all the credit. He was the one that wrote all the books that were famous. Bowles was the guy that coached him and trained him, right? Magnificent teacher. If you're interested in that sort of thing and you can find these books because they're really difficult, go and grab yourself a book and enlighten yourself. But that's his definition of success, right? A goal is a definite movement of mind. Now remember, mind is a thing. It's an activity. It's not fixed in space, so you're moving. So there's an element of moving, an element of action, an element of pulling resources in. There's a doing part of it. Can't just sit down and allow it to come to you. It doesn't work that way. You have to get off your duff and go out and do something. You go in a definite direction, so you know where you're going, right? And you accomplish a definite end. You know what it is you want, and we're going to come back to that in just a sec. Most people experience mediocre results in life, at best, simply because they either don't really know what they want, or if they do, they don't know how to achieve it. I'm just going to do a little pop quiz here, no judgment whatsoever, just to see how many of you currently, honestly, have a definite goal knowing where you're going in the next 2 years. Put your hand up. 1. Okay, that's pretty good, actually, because usually it's none, right? So none of you. Now, let me ask another question. Does anyone in this room want to improve in any way in their life on where they are right now? Put your hands up if you do. Right? So that's 100%, right? So 100% of you want to improve, right? But only one of you know what that entails, where you're going, right? So there's a little bit of a disconnect there, right?
I'm probably lying.
No, you probably are, right? You probably should have kept your mouth shut, right? He's a liar! You lie, sir! Right. Okay. So, interesting, right? Interesting stuff. So, who am I? Oh, right, who are you? I'm going to pick on you, Will. I'm going to ask you that question. Who are you? Just fire it back. Don't even think about it. Who are you?
Will.
Okay, fine. Right. Well, that's just a name. That's just a label. You could have been called anything. That's not who you are. That's what you're called, right? So I'm going to pick on you now. I'm going to ask you the same question. Who are you? If you're not your name, who are you? Right, it's quite difficult, isn't it? So once you take away the labels, what are you left with? Right? And if you say, I'm this, what you see in front of me, right? I say, okay, that's interesting. Stand in that mirror. Is that what you see? Well, what about the you from 10 years ago? Which is the right one? So even the body you inhabit now becomes a bit transient. So it becomes a little bit more of a deep philosophical question, right? If you sit and think about it, oh my God, I'm going to go out here, I don't even know who I am. Right? What's he done to me? Okay. Bill Gove, right, was a speaker in the 60s, and he was known as the Frank Sinatra of speaking. There are sadly no videos of him doing it, but you can do his school and speaker school and see the videos of him talking. He was truly magnificent. And he said this, and this is genius. All right, if I want to be free, I've got to be me. Not the me you think I should be. Not the me I think my wife thinks I should be. Not the me I think my kids think I should be. If I want to be free, I've got to be me. So I better know who me is. Isn't that good? That is truly amazing. You better know who you are, right? So, who are you, right? Do you want my definition of it? You prepared to go that deep? You are an individuated expression of consciousness, experiencing that which you create in a local universe, in time and space, where you draw your power from a non-local quantum field of potentiality. That's who you are. So you are an idea in the mind of the divine, if you like, if you want to go a bit deeper. Right? Hold on to that thought for a while. Right. What? In effect, your consciousness. Your consciousness having an experience in space-time, right? And you're creating that experience as well as co-creating everyone else's experience, because really there's only one life, there's only one energy, and everything is an experience and a expression of it. Okay, if you really want to know. Okay, whew. That's the room gone. Right, what do I really want? Whoa, okay. Remember, most people fail to succeed because they don't know what they really want. So in order to know what you really want, you need to know you, because what Thanasis wants is probably very different from what I want. What everyone else wants is probably different from everyone else, because there's 7.5 billion people on the planet and they see life through their own lens, their own story, their own perception, and everyone has got their own individual story and sees things in their own individual way, even though they're part of the same energy, they're part of the same source, if you like. Okay, but you're here to experience you. You're not here to live anyone else's life. You're here to live yours and experience your life in a way that enhances you and the people around you. Okay, that's why you're here. All right. So most people fail to succeed because they don't know what they really want. Most goals or dreams or visions or ideas people settle on are temporary, impulsive whims, spur of the moment decisions. Right. New Year's resolutions, great example. Lots of people, has anyone here set a New Year's resolution? Right, so quite a few, right? All right. Truthfully, how many of you have done it? 1, 2, right, okay, right. Statistically, 98% of people who set a New Year's resolution on the 1st of January or the 31st of December have already failed, fallen off the wagon, given up by the 15th of January. So just over 2 weeks, done, right? Because they're spur of the moment decisions. I'm going to give up drinking. Right, okay, fine. Right, 3 weeks later, way, shots, right? It's just the way it is. There's no judgment. I don't judge anyone. But whims, impulsive, temporary, spur of the moment, right? And remember, definite. Remember what Bao said, a definite movement, right? To succeed then, any desire must be deep down and heartfelt. I use that word purposely because it has to come from the heart. Remember, subconscious feeling. It has to be emotive. It has to really jack you up. Must be deep down and heartfelt, or it's doubtful, it's pretty much impossible, that you will commit to the process necessary, because there's action. You know, there's an old story about a guy in ancient Greece, goes up to an old man, he says, I'm trying to get to Mount Olympus, and the guy turns out to be Socrates, and says, you see that big mountain over there? Every day, walk closer to it. And it's an allegory for how you get to your goals. You see your goal in front of you, and every day you step towards it. But you focus on the steps you're taking every day, but you just keep an eye on you're still going the same way. You don't have to keep looking at the mountain, you'll get run over, right? But as long as you're working in the right direction and taking the appropriate action, which can be very small, it doesn't have to be a lot of action. It can be 1 or 2 or 3 things a day. Just tick them off, bang, 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 done. Let's go, on with my life, right? And away you go. So I call it the creation process because I couldn't think of another name. And this is the first bit. Okay, so you know we spoke about habits rather than steps, right? These aren't steps, these are habits that you need to ingrain if you want to create something new. If you want to create a new goal, a dream, you want to build a business, you want to change your physique, anything you want, this is how you do it. But this is what you live, right? Okay, so these are the habits. And there are 3 different types, so they're grouped in 3 different slides. Okay, firstly, you form a mental picture of what the goal you want is. So you have to see it first of all, right? Everything around you now, you have a look around, everything in here was once an idea in someone's mind, right? Nothing starts without an idea, even something like a tree, right? If I gave you all an acorn, right, and said, what does that grow into? What does it grow into? An acorn. Do you know what tree it grows into? Did you do biology at school? Oak tree, yeah, there you go. Not difficult, was it? I'm trying to catch you up. Well, how you know, it's a trick question. I don't know what to think anymore, right? It's an oak tree, right? But if I give you that, so every time, without fail, it grows into an oak tree, right? Without fail. If I give you that and say, find the oak tree in that acorn, where is it? You cannot find it. You can cut it open, you can crunch it down, you can put it under the most powerful electron microscope you want. You will not find that oak tree in there. You know why? Because it doesn't exist yet. It's an idea inside that seed, right? Everything has a spiritual blueprint, right? Comes from the mind of the divine, from consciousness, from the quantum field. Remember, it's a vibration before it becomes a thing, right? From we call it the world of the formless into the world of the form. Right? So you have to form that mental picture first. Without that image in your mind, it's a whim. It's a, well, I don't know if that's what whims do. I don't really know. Right? So form a mental picture of what the goal is. Okay. This is the big one. See this mental picture in its completed state, right? Everything is energy, right? Einstein famously said once, you cannot solve a problem from the same level of mind that created it. So if all you're seeing is problems, guess what you're going to see? Exactly, problems. You have to elevate your level of mind, another word for mind is consciousness, to see solutions. And when you start seeing solutions, the problems, guess what they do? They disappear because they don't exist. Because in the universe, everything just is, right? We give it a story. Oh, that's a problem. Is it really? Right? I'm going to drop a name here. Tom, you got a dustpan and brush, right? Well, actually, I'm not going to drop a name because I don't want to do that, but I'm going to drop a story. I once coached a very successful billionaire. And I didn't know why he wanted me to coach him, because this guy was super successful and I was a bit intimidated. Turned out he was a lovely, lovely guy, right? And he wanted me because of what I do, and he wanted to reharmonise his life because he had been so focused on business that he had lost contact with family and all sorts of things, and he wanted a more rounded life, and he thought I'd be able to help him. He was a lovely guy, Canadian guy, that's all I'm going to tell you. And I said to him, I'm going to have to ask you, how were you able to become a billionaire? Because that's way beyond what I even want to do. but I appreciate you for doing it. It must have been very difficult. He said, you know what? It wasn't that difficult. You know what I did? I found people that had big problems and I solved them. And he said, and people paid me a lot of money for it. A lot of money. He said, when you find $1 billion problem and solve it, people give you $1 billion. I was like, well, that's really insightful. All right. So there you go. So you want to see this picture in its completed state. So if you have an idea of, let's say, I'm going to use the money one again because we've used that all the way through. You have a specific amount of money that you want your business to turn over, or you want to earn, or you want to get for whatever reason, right? The way the universe is set up, it works with the end and then works backwards, because the universe is non-local. Space and time doesn't exist. We generate space and time as a form of measurement. We give it space, we give it time, but for the universe, for the natural laws of the universe, and that's a completely separate seminar that maybe we'll do one day if you're interested, but you're supposed to say yes, Paul, when I say that, right? I'm not being funny, right? I put dummies at the back to drive the crowd, and they're just sitting there, right? So, time doesn't exist, so things can happen instantly. But we have this process where we're taught that things take time. And they do in this 3D world that we live in. So if I plant a tomato seed, I have to wait 43 days to get the fruit. That's the process it goes through. So there is a time lag in this material world. So what happens is, when you want to create something, you have to step out of time, go forward to that, think about and start to emote the energy that the completed goal would be. So as Einstein said, you have to take your level of mind up, take your level of consciousness up, and bring that energy back to where you are right now. So let's say that you want to build some muscle, right? You want to go to the gym and build some muscle, right? So see yourself as the completed picture. Feel what it'd be like to have that physique. Feel what it'd be like to walk around in new clothes. Feel what it'd be like to have the conversation with people who say, oh my God, how did you do that? You look amazing. What did you do? Feel how that would feel, right? And then bring that energy back into what you're doing right now. So what would that successful person in that goal be doing now? Well, they'd sort out their water intake, they'd sort out their nutrition, they'd sort out their training, they'd buy new training clothes, right? They'd set up a photo shoot and a day like 6 months down the line so they can't back out. So they've got that goal there, right? It gives them a bit of urgency. All these things you start to do now, right? And it's like anything. You can bring that energy. If you want to get a new job, if you want to get a pay rise, think about what that person would have to do in that new job. Bring that energy back to the job you're in now. Do it now and watch what happens. You know, and then keep an eye open for all the opportunities around you, because they're there. We saw that earlier with the different cars, right? You know, it's there all the time. So you have to see the picture in its completed state. And then you hold that picture, that completed picture in your mind in its completed state until it's completely materialized in your physical life. Now, here's the thing. There are a lot of things going on, especially today, that are negative. And if you're holding an image of something positive you want to happen in your life, you need to step away from the negative. Because remember the conscious, subconscious, and if you put energy on the negative, and negative things have a big charge, right? So if you start to emote about the negativity of it, right, that's going to go into your subconscious. And rather than seeing the new thing that you want to see, you're going to see the same thing you've been seeing, or worse, because you're emoting the negative rather than the positive. So you have to be very, very careful. You are powerful beyond measure, more powerful than you believe, right? I know that. I see it every day in my work. I see people do amazing, incredible things, and you don't realize most of the time how powerful you are, but you are creating everything. You are here because you created this in some way. You are co-creators of everything, and you create your own experience. So I've created this. I'm talking to myself in 17 or 18 different versions, looking back at me with different levels of awareness, thinking, this is amazing, or what am I doing here? I need to go to the pub. Something along those lines, right? So that's the first three. Form a mental picture, see the mental picture, hold the mental picture. Okay? Whoa, here we go. So here's the second bit. We're almost there. Look at that, 45 minutes almost. Right, these are really important points. Discuss what you're trying to materialize with as few people as possible avoid discussion with friends and relatives who usually will put you down, right? Honestly, if anyone's met my family, you'll know that to be true, right? I'm 52 years old, nearly 53, right? I've been doing this stuff since I was 10 years old. I kid you not, I had a very weird childhood, right? My family still have no idea what I do in my life. They have no idea. They just think I talk with random people and get paid. They honestly have no idea. My mum still today says to me, when are you going to get a job? Are you actually going to go get a job? It's like, what are you talking about? Right? So people will try their best to talk you out. It's not malice. They don't understand. Right? We had 10-year-old Ava, 10-year-old tennis player in here. I said to her, what do you want? Right? Female, 10 years old, ranked in the top 10 UK for her age, under 11. Right? What do you want? 26 Grand Slam titles. I said, I don't know much about female tennis, but I imagine that would make you the world record holder. Is that right? And she said, yes, it would. I said, do you want me to tell you how to do it? And she said, yes. I said, write the number 26 everywhere. Right? You know what it is. Right? Write it on your books, write it on your tennis racket, write it on your trainers, write it on your kit. Just write 26. You don't have to tell anyone what it is. You know what it is. And when people say, what's that? You say, oh, don't worry. It's just something I do. So you're surrounded by 26. So you're constantly reminded about 26. Right? Every time you go to the court to practice, 26. I'm 26. Do the work of a 26 Grand Slam champion. Every time you do your homework from school, 26. Boom. Best in the world. Right? You can come from that energy if you choose. Just choice. Ruth, you said it was a choice earlier, didn't you? Bang on. Everything's a choice. You choose. You choose. Right. Avoid discussion with those naysayers. Plan everything you do in your life to revolve around the materialization of your goal and vision. If it's really important to you, it comes first. And that doesn't mean you disregard anyone else, but it means that you plan. It means that you put processes in place that you can do it. Because what you don't want to do is commit to a weight loss program in the gym and then at the same time, commit to doing something that takes 4 days a week to do, start a new job where you work 16 hours a day, and then think, oh my God, I can't go to the gym, right? So do what you need to do in your life, get your goals in line with that, plan it meticulously, and as I say, it only needs 1 or 2 things a day, bang, bang, done. My advice, get your important things done as early as possible in the morning. It means getting up 20 minutes, 30 minutes earlier, do it. Everyone spends far too much time in bed anyway, and everyone just does something in the day that they can pull some time back in, and that's true because often clients say to me, haven't got the time. Let's do a time audit. Every 15 minutes, write down what you're doing for the whole day. The last person I've done that, we find 4 hours in the day. 4 hours, right? Choice, okay. It has to be, I don't know if you've heard of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, the book, right? It's like a famous self-help book, written in the 30s. It took him 20 years to write, very famous in certain circles, quite outdated, but the concepts are still very good. He called it having a magnificent obsession, right? It's done with purpose, with a smile, with joy, with bliss. Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss, same thing. All right. Okay, don't allow yourself to be distracted by other people or events in your life. We live in an age where there's so many pulls on our time, so many distractions. You have to practice what an old mentor of mine called maniacal focus, right? When you're focusing on, see, the only time that does exist, I said time doesn't exist, that's a little bit of a misnomer. The only time that does exist is the present, now. And life is just a series of nows. When you wake up in the morning, you don't go, or when you wake up tomorrow, you don't go, yeah, it's tomorrow, right? It's now, right? So your life is a segment of nows put together and made to move like pictures in a cinema, right? 26 or 24 frames a second, boom, 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 you see a moving picture, but actually they're all just still pictures. That's life. That's why we have a nervous system, because we flicker, we vibrate, right? I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah. So you have to be completely focused in the moment, completely focused on the present. You can't multitask. Your brain does not multitask. Sorry, women. Your brain does not multitask. Let me say that again. You do not multitask, right? It's called brain switching. Your brain switches from one task to another. Multitask is a computer term that was coined in the 60s because it looked like computers were doing more than one thing at once. But their switching time was so fast, it looked like they were, but they weren't. And we've kind of taken that on board. I multitask. No, you don't. You just don't do anything particularly well. Sorry. Okay. Be honest with yourself, right? Look, I love lifting weights. I love boxing. I'm not going to jump in the ring with Tyson Fury tomorrow and bash him up. I pretty much could, but no, I'm not, right? So to have a goal where I say I'm going to be world heavyweight champion next year is just not going to happen because there are natural laws we all align with, right? But it doesn't mean you can't dream big. But you have to have an affinity for that thing. If you don't have any interest in playing tennis and you dream that you're going to be a 26-time Grand Slam champion, I'm sorry, as my dad used to say, you're pissing in the wind, right? It just isn't going to happen, right? You have to have an affinity with you. That's why it has to have feeling. It has to be emotive, okay? So here we go. No one climbs Everest alone. Now earlier I said, don't tell anyone, right? Don't tell the naysayers. But no matter what you want to do, no matter what goal you may have, what dream or vision, someone's done it before, right? Find them, find their resources, and utilise the talents of those that have walked it before. You don't have to do it on your own. And if the path is well trodden and someone can take you along it, you go that much quicker. When you have to hack the path yourself, it always takes you a little more time, okay? And you get discouraged because you're having to hack the path as well. All right. So here we go. Last little bit. Every great creation has had discouraging moments and temporary setbacks, and they're failures. You're not failing, right? It's just a word, right? It's just a chance to come back and reevaluate and go again, and you need that in your life. You can't just go bang, 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 right? That it's said that it's all about the journey. That's true, but you're going towards something. And the reason it's all about the journey is because when you get to a goal, invariably you go, right, what's next? Because we're designed to evolve. We're designed to constantly be expressing ourselves. So we get one goal, we move on to the next, and that's a good thing. So we never get too, it's called in Taoist terms, I'm a big lover of Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu, Chinese philosophy. They call it the practice of non-attachment, right? You don't get attached to things. Doesn't mean you don't enjoy them. It doesn't mean you don't have fun with them. But when you attach to things, what you're saying is it has to be this way. So if you say, I want to earn £1 million, right? And you're attached to that £1 million, you may have won the lottery at £100 million, right? And you've done yourself out of that because you're focused on the million. You don't go and put the money on the lottery because you have to stay non-attached. Oh, that's nice. There's a great, I'll tell you this little fable, this little tale. Chinese farmer, okay? He has a farm, and in the morning he gets up and the fence is blown over in a storm and all his horses have gone. And the neighbours come over and say, oh, that's such a shame. And he goes, maybe, maybe not. The next day the horse comes back and it's got 6 new horses with him, wild horses. And the neighbours come over and say, wow, that's lucky. And he says, well, maybe, maybe not. The next day his son is on one of the horses trying to break it in and he falls and breaks his leg. And the neighbours again come over and say, oh, that's unfortunate. And he says, oh, maybe, maybe not. The next day, the army come to town. There's a war on and they want to conscript all the young men. And they take all the villagers' young men except the farmer's son who's got a broken leg, right? You never know what's going on in the bigger scheme of things. We have a very small perspective of stuff. And when you attach to things, you do yourself have all that other stuff. It's a massive universe, multi-dimensional. There are things going on around you that you can't possibly conceive. There are animals on the planet that see in a different spectrum to us, so they have a different experience of the universe. Snakes see in infrared. Insects, bees, ultraviolet. Bats use echolocation. There are animals that use X-ray technology. This is just on Earth, right? We see so very little, all right? So we don't fail. Don't allow things that seemingly go wrong to weaken your resolve. They were almost always an integral aspect of anything that ever was or ever will be accomplished by everyone. No, even Edmund Hillary, failed climbing Everest twice before he got up there. Right? Nearly died the second time he went up there. Still went up there, nutter. All right, here's a biggie. This is a biggie. Take care of yourself. You must be in the best physical and mental condition possible to draw on the extra reserves required to be able to materialize things. You have to look after yourself. You have to be healthy. Eat well, hydrate, de-stress, meditate, go and have saunas, go and do cold water therapy, if that's your thing. Work on your mental health. Everyone has good mental health, right? We get in the way of that. If you're suffering there, not tell anyone, come and get help, right? But you must take care of yourself. Because when you are trying to produce something new, you're trying to utilize energy to manipulate it, to create something new, you have to be of a high energy yourself to do it. Okay, and finally, I think, how do we finish? Strong. Finish stronger than you begin. Why do you think I say it? Right? You must not become complacent. Finish stronger than you begin. When athletes are running the marathon and they get into the stadium and they're doing that last lap, what do? They run 26 miles. You've got 200 left. What do? They speed up. When that finishing line comes in, don't get complacent. I've nearly done. I can relax. Oh, bash. Go for that. Go for that finish line. There you go. All right. So we're going to have a little break. Thank you ever so much for sitting through that. We did about 50 minutes in the end. I know it's a bit of a, whoa, what the hell have I just gone through? All right. Grab yourself some water, hydrate, mill around for a little bit. We'll come back for 15 minutes Q&A in a sec. Okay. All right.